fueron la lección una de nuestras vidas y
For teachers, we have principals, we have school board members, we have district superintendents. We're going to be talking about issues that affect us, such as English language learners. What is it that we can do in our districts so that our English language learners can be on track, grade level ready to read and move forward? What does the research say?
It's very young. So we are a young population in the United States. We're a young population in California. So understand that addressing that population is important at that early age. What works at the early age? First, the only evidence we have of reducing the gap, the achievement gap that Dr. Lopez mentioned, for our children, our Latino children, whether they're dual language learners, that's if they're learning more than one language, English and Spanish, or they're not, they're monolingual, they're primarily English speakers, is participation in pre-K at age 3 and 4, particularly full-day pre-K at age 4. And yet, the participation rate of Latinos in California and the United States is half of what other children have at pre-K at age 4. In California, you do have pre-K through Head Start. Some of your cities and counties have pre-K available to you at minimal cost, and you have transitional K available in your public schools. Let's be sure, if we're going to make a difference for our youngest children, that they get access to pre-K. Secondly, is let's be sure to understand, as parents and educators, that learning two languages is not a disadvantage. It's not a disadvantage for others. The National Academy of Science will publish in a few months a review of the literature in this area. Every infant is born with the capacity to learn more than one language. Every infant. Poor, not poor, every infant. As many as 4 languages can be learned without any negative effects on language, on social interaction, or essentially in communication. So please understand, learning 2 languages at home, in school, whatever, is not negative. In fact, we know now that using the native language to learn English is essentially a positive educational treatment to assist our children not only to learn English, but to achieve. Lastly, I would say, involving the families is absolutely critical. In evidence we've been able to decipher from longitudinal studies, if families in the early grades, kindergarten and first grade, are partners with the school, if they indicate que somos parte de la educación de los niños, you get an increase of about 15% in outcome, evidence, and achievement. So we're not only thinking, is parents a good thing? Como no? Involve parents in education, reach out to parents and families, but we know now it's good for the children in terms of achievement. For those of you interested in meeting those goals that you have to meet now in the K-12 sector, if you engage parents, you're going to essentially get that. Are there good programs to do that? Yeah, you have some right here in Santa Clara and in San Jose. Abriendo Puertas, Avance, you name it. There are ways in which you can just move parents to engage and become partners, and it makes a difference for our children.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia, for those insightful words. So, Dr. Valdez, when children don't have those early learning experiences, when they come to us in high schools and they're struggling with their English, we have los recién llegados that come in, that recent arrivals. What about the students that have been here that are still struggling with the English language? I know you've done some excellent work on the east side of one of the schools at Latino College Prep with the Reading Writing Initiative, where you've worked to help these kids in terms of developing their English across the curriculum. Could you share a little bit of your insights on that?
And I've been very fortunate to be able to work at Latino College Prep Academy for a number of years with some extraordinarily talented teachers, with wonderful administrators, and a commitment to Latino education that I really think that we need to be proud of here in the Valley. And we started a particular initiative that we call the Reading and Writing Initiative. And we were very concerned with the fact that we want to make certain that all of our college graduates, that all our high school graduates go on to college. But to do that, we needed to make certain that they could really read and write at the college level. And that became very, very important. So with the teachers, we actually started an initiative that was to help all of the students reach the Common Core standards that were just coming in. And we know that those Common Core standards, how you read text, informational text, that was raising the bar in so many ways. So I've been very lucky to work with a set of teachers. And what we actually were working with is on something called process writing. And process writing means that what we want to do is give these students a voice. A lot of times when you ask people to write, or children to write, you really want to cover it in red and correct all the mistakes. You don't really care what it says. But in our program, we really want to deal with topics that children want to write about, these young people want to write about, and then we want to encourage them to say something, and then to revise it, to think about their readers, to be able to say, am I saying what I want? Our main thought is that writing is about ideas. If you think about that for a moment, writing is about ideas. You can always hire yourself a good editor. Right? So if we waste too much time correcting, and not that we don't need to do that, but we have spelling correctors and we have things technologically that we can do, but what it matters is that you believe as a writer that you have something to say and that someone wants to listen. Nothing to add to that. I typically, when I'm asked who are the best teachers for our students, I basically say, I'm often asked, what's the ethnic background, what's the language background of the teacher? And I typically just bring it down to the following. I want teachers who like our students and believe that they can learn.
So we've been at this a long time, folks, and we've been looking at what it takes to make a good teacher and the characteristics. But I think caring and loving those kids is really important. So the experience and the research that's up here is real important, and sharing this. Carol, did you have another question related to anything else you'd like to ask?
Well, I think that I would just add to this dialogue that at Santa Clara University, as part of our Jesuit mission, we talk about educating the whole person. And in terms of preparing teachers and who makes the best teachers, I would just add to this conversation that recognizing the importance of educating the whole child and who they are in that moment, the gifts they bring, and where they are in terms of their families and the community. So I think I would like to just ask a question of both of you to talk a little bit about the parents and what would it mean to empower the parents to support the education of their child, particularly our Latino students.
Well, I'm happy to answer that. I spent a lot of time and have written a book that's titled Con Respeto, Bridging the Distances Between Families and Schools. Because I cared very, very deeply about parents being treated con respeto. And thinking that parents are not adjunct school teachers, their main job is to parent. They're raising good people. They're raising responsible citizens. That's their first job. And they also have to support the education in a new system, especially those families that have not grown up in this country. So as Jean says, we really need that involvement. But that involvement perhaps must involve respecting what they normally do as parents, not trying to make them into imitation middle-class Anglo parents. They do different things that we don't do.
So with that being said, we do have a special guest that's going to come up and say a few words. But before that, I would like to take a minute to thank Dr. Guadalupe Valdez, Dr. Eugene Garcia, for their years of work and service and for being with us here today. Let's give them a round of applause.